Hi everybody, I'm Steven and I get asked the question a lot, what programming language should I teach myself next? Or what programming language should I start off with if you want to get into software development? There are three things that you should know that you should consider when you do want to pick your programming language. First of all, the programming language doesn't really matter that much. Most of the languages use the same concepts. The only difference would be the syntax between the languages. As soon as you know one language and you have one language that you're very proficient at, to teach yourself another language is very easy because the concepts remain the same. It's basically just the translations and the wording that are slightly different. There are, however, the first thing is the level of the language that does make a difference. If you have very low-level languages like assembler, C++, Pascal, even C, they talk directly to the hardware. They talk directly to the CPU. You have to allocate memory manually. You have to free the memory afterwards when you're done. It's a very nitty-gritty language where you have to do everything. There's not a lot of libraries that's already written that you can use. And it's also a language that's obviously, as a result, very difficult to code in, and it takes long. You have to do a lot of work to get to a point where you actually get results. The reward of coding in those languages is that those languages do perform a lot better. If you can write a whole application in only assembler, that program will fly. It will load instantly. It will do everything instantly. It will be as if there's no processing power. If, on the other hand, you have your higher level languages, they usually don't run directly on the hardware. They run on like a platform or a virtual machine. They are your scripting languages. That they are right on the top, like JavaScript. They're very easy to code in because there's a lot of functions and methods and libraries and things in place that does all the work for you. So you don't have to do a lot. So you get to a result a lot quicker, and you have something that works and functions and produces something a lot quicker, but it's not going to be as fast. It's a lot slower language, and it's obviously a lot easier as a result. The second thing that you should focus on when you want to pick a programming language is where it runs. Certain programming languages can only run in certain places. If you look at JavaScript, for instance, JavaScript mainly runs inside a browser, and you can only use it for web development. Lately, there is a thing called Node.js that has been released that you can actually run JavaScript in a server-like environment. You still can't build native desktop apps with it, not as far as I know. It's more server-related. It's not really something that links into a GUI. Then you get a language like, let's say, PHP, which is also a web server language. So it purely runs in a web server. Then you get a language like C# that has to run in a .NET environment. So you have to install the .NET platform first, and then you can run your .NET applications on it. And then you have a language like, let's say, C, which C is something that you can compile it for a lot of platforms, but you have to make changes in the code to make this run on Windows, to make it run on Mac, to make it run on Linux. Then my all-time favorite is Java. It just runs everywhere, but it can't run on a front end on a web page. You get applets, but it's sort of nobody uses applets anymore. Then the third thing you need to consider is license fees. There are a couple of languages that do require you to actually have a license to develop in it. So just watch out for that. You do get your open source languages that are free. The applications you write with them, you don't have any licenses for them. You can just distribute these applications and don't charge your clients any license fees whatsoever. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's bad. In programming, it's one of the few places where cost doesn't really mean quality. A lot of your free open source languages are actually better than your licensed languages. So those are the three things that you need to know when you want to pick the next programming language that you want to teach yourself. So if you really want me to tell you what programming language to study next or to teach yourself next, I would highly recommend Java. Java is a very versatile language. You can run it on almost anything. It runs on Android now, it runs on PC, Mac, Linux, Windows. It even runs on your hi-fi or on your TV or CD players. All sorts of peripheral devices actually run Java. It does run on a virtual machine, so it's got a little bit more overhead than a normal application that's written in a little bit of a lower level programming language such as C or C++ or assembler. So it's not going to be as fast, but it's a nice in-betweener. It can run anywhere. It is fairly fast. You get all the principles modern day programming language requires, like object orientation, design principles, those things. And you have a lot of libraries to your disposal. You can literally write anything in Java. So that's all I have for you for today, guys. If you fancy my video, then like it. If you want to see me again, then subscribe it. Until next time, ciao.